The first thing in the brown lunch bag.
Yeah, perfect.
It's perfect. What is inside?
Zachary. Oh my. As a parent, you don't want to believe it. You really don't want to believe the worst of someone. Zachary was a completely different person. He started crying going to school.
Like, don't leave me there.
Yeah, I was, don't leave me there.
You're talking about a very, very scary situation. I dare say, like, parents' worst nightmare.
Was.
Where's my child at? Welcome back to Love Out of Chaos with the Valentines. I'm Patrick Valentine.
I'd like you for the time.
And I'm Linda, Mama Valentine.
Do you know what we're doing today?
Mama one.
Number one. This is number one. We are getting into it. We are learning more about Zachary and his education journey. We are
Not saying the S word.
not saying the S word at all. Not saying the S word.
I do it.
Let's do this. All right, Zach,
What?
you ready to get in today's episode?
Yeah.
Let's get in today's episode. This is going to be a really tough episode. And the reality is talking about Zach's education journey. There's a lot of pain that comes with it, as you already feel it.
Yeah, it definitely hit me from. It just caught me out of nowhere. You know, I just realized, wow, we haven't even started. Why do my makeup?
Don't worry, we got tissues on hand.
Yeah.
We got tissues. But no, I think it's a very important conversation. Obviously very hard for us, particularly you, because you are the one that really was in it more than obviously I was as a child. And so we're just going to take it back from the very beginning. And that was even before Zach was in school. And that was early intervention.
Right.
How was early intervention for Zachary and for you?
For me, it was new. I completely oblivious to what we were about to embark on. And I was thankful. I was thankful that we had a service come to the home and teach me and make me aware of his delays, make me aware of where I can support him and how the services were there to support him. So that was a positive experience. I didn't understand the delays that he was about to have during those early years, especially after having the open heart surgery. Like I said, it just took him some time. But after I saw so much like life in him, and I knew that we were just starting a new reality. So they come to the house, started a little bit of therapy. And as the years went on, I started realizing what, as a mom, I was going to have to seek out for him, the services. And again, it was just all so new. I didn't know about the organizations that were available. So as any new mom with a child with a disability and seeking services and that support, you start off and you embark on that new phase. And I had a lot of hopes for him. So I knew and I understood that the more services he had, the more of a chance for him to hit those milestones sooner.
Yeah, and be the best version of himself.
Right.
And I think that's typical of any child. The more services, the more support, the more love that you have, typically bigger things are possible.
Right. I had this fight in me to, to seek out
everything possible for
everything was that's how I think that's how I felt about life in itself. Anything is possible.
So after early intervention, Zach went off to preschool, correct?
It was like preschool.
Preschool. Okay,
He
what
was
is
he was about
preschool?
3 years old. Again, it was another form of early intervention, but this time it was in a classroom setting.
Okay.
And he was probably the youngest and the littlest there. He was 3 years old, still not walking, but he was crawling everywhere. And I was happy to see him in that setting. I wasn't sure what to expect other than, the opportunity for him to be with other kids. Um, at that age, he wasn't really someone that interacted with other kids.
Okay.
Yeah, but they worked really well with him. It was the cutest thing. I mean, it really was. I was very grateful for that. They taught me a lot about how to help him with his feeding because they did everything that you would do, playtime, work with like blocks. Everything was on a table. It was really cute because they had them on a big table sitting inside. There was like a chair inside the table, about 4 or 5 kids.
Oh, okay.
You can imagine
I
big
know what you're talking
table, and
about.
it was just like a hole in the table with a chair.
Yeah.
So each one was. It was nice to see that they created a space specifically for them, to work with them, to play with them, interact with them. Zachary, as you know, as he got older, he was a runner, but even when he was crawling,
He was a crawler. He crawled
he
fast.
did not. Yeah, when he learned how to crawl, he did not like to stay. So this was a perfect setting for him, and it was great. I mean, it was a positive experience. The teachers, the aides, they were all fantastic. That setting gave me hope with understanding that there was a lot more available to him. And that was the good first experience.
And Zach loved it?
I don't know if he loved it. It was too early to. I mean, he had his moments.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm going to be honest, he had his moments. But overall he did well. Once he understood what he was doing, and again, repetition. At first, there was just a little pushback, but once he understood we were going there and they made it fun, enjoyable, he smiled and he did. He enjoyed it. But the programs, certain programs only lasted for a certain amount of weeks, so it wasn't very long lasting.
So it wasn't like a whole school year.
It wasn't a whole school year, no.
Certain times. And so this, as you call it, preschool,
Right.
there wasn't any IEPs in
At that
or
time,
was it?
no.
No,
No,
not yet.
because he wasn't enrolled in school yet.
Got it. And so then he
Because
did.
it was an early intervention program. I believe at that time, it was already through the regional center.
Okay. That makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I get it. And so after that program ended, where did Zach go?
Soon after that, we moved. That experience was a little different after we moved, but still equally great. I was fortunate enough to be in a classroom with Zachary that taught me other therapies for him. They were very welcoming, the aides, the teacher. She was very passionate about what she was doing. And you can tell, open door policy that made me feel comfortable. I think more towards like the middle of the school year, I started leaving him because I would die with the idea of leaving him anywhere.
Talk more about that. Was that normal for you, for both of us as children, or more specifically for Zachary because of the unknown?
I think it was more for Zachary. I didn't like leaving you either,
Yeah.
but I mean, I always make sure that I scope out whether it be daycares or for you. I make sure that I had good recommendations. I just didn't ever feel comfortable leaving either of you with what I call strangers.
Mm.
Um, but this was a system we were all just accustomed to being part of, right? I had to work with you, and so I would take you to daycare, and I was really thankful for the experience that we had there and the teachers that were there and the community we had. So that was positive. And then when Zachary started in the new school, he was there for about a year. He did really well. He did so well. Like I said, he did really well. The teachers and the aides, they shed a lot of light in just for me to see what is possible for Zachary. They created an environment that was just full of love and hope and the desire to really help all the students. And they ranged from ages. And again, he was still the tiniest and the youngest.
No matter where he went, he was usually the tiniest.
He was. He was.
And I think it shows the importance of teachers' roles
Yes.
in the education system. As you're talking about, he really thrived in those younger years, and the teachers played a really big role in that.
They did. I was full of hope because I really wanted him to have those experiences. I wanted him to have the school experience, the friends, the events, the activities,
Mm-hmm.
as I did with you. I didn't, I wanted him to have those. And as we talk further, I realized that those environments weren't always set up that way.
Yeah, so I would say we got very lucky with Zachary in those early years. But as you just alluded to, it wasn't always the case. When did that reality start setting in where the education system actually became an unsafe place for Zachary?
After that initial classroom and experience we had, like I said, I left with a lot of hope. And we had to move again. Unfortunately, these are all the realities. We did move quite a bit. And we entered into a school system in a place that we were there for about 4 or 5 years. And that was touch and go because the placements that they had for him, they were just not accommodating to him. They were not set up to really help him thrive. It was a classroom that was beginning to find its own rhythm. It was a classroom of teachers that were new.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I have an appreciation for teachers. I know it's not an easy job. And it's unfortunate that sometimes when everyone is new to the space, it's sort of difficult to simply just have that environment that is thriving.
Yeah.
When you don't have the experience.
Because they're just trying to learn.
They're trying to learn. Everyone's trying to learn.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of pressure within the system itself. The school, there's a lot of pressure to perform. There's just a lot of pressure on, for the teachers, for the administrators. But that was the beginning of nothing but few years of struggle. And when I saw Zachary struggling and I saw Zachary just not being happy, I saw him just not happy to go to class. I began a half day.
Mm.
It was 3 days out of the week. And I was trying to integrate him a little slower because I realized it was just not a place that I felt that he was going to thrive. And it was a lot of change for him too. When I realized Zachary wasn't going to really thrive in the setting that we was in, education was no longer a prime priority. It was his well-being, his happiness, his safety. Because then at that point I started seeing a lot more behavior issues and
Like what?
so crying, throwing himself back. It was his way of communicating.
Yeah.
When you really come to realize, you think that your child's having these major behavior issues, but it's their way of communicating that they're just not happy, that they don't want to be in a place that doesn't feel safe, perhaps, or
And especially since Zach was nonverbal at that time,
right.
right? It was very
He was
little
about
sign
4 or
language.
5 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't speaking. It was maybe very little baby sign language, if that.
Yeah. It was more like his
If
little
that.
more, yeah,
Couple words
please.
here and there.
Right. So that lasted for a few years. And within that same school system, he was moved around. There was one year, amazing teacher again. And I thought I had finally found a place that, he can thrive for at least a year. She was wonderful. Again, you can tell the teachers that were just absolutely passionate about what they were doing. But soon enough, before you knew it, she probably was only there about a quarter of the year. So, I experienced this heartbreak thinking, what was going to happen now. He was finally beginning to show signs of being happy and making some, great little strides of his own. But yeah, I found myself again having to help him adapt to change. And unfortunately, the teacher that came in at that point was not really, she was new.
Mm.
I think that's the best way to express. It's just that she was new, unfamiliar with maybe helping how to help the kids. I can see there was a lot of pressure on her. Just a different way, of teaching, different way of that was not very helpful to, I think, in my opinion, to the students and to the parents. I think that's when I realized that for me, it was the start of really truly understanding what it meant to advocate for your child, because that was the turning point for me. It wasn't pleasant. I think when schools and teachers have a closed door policy, it makes parents very uncomfortable.
So talk about that. What does closed door policy mean?
It means that you weren't really welcome in the classroom. They made everything hard for you to even ask questions. You felt like a stranger, really, in this space of they did everything, and I can understand. They want things to work out seamless for the kids. They want structure. Um, I can understand those ideas, but that doesn't always quite work well for students such as Zachary. It doesn't always work well when the teachers are not building trust with parents or even the administrators, because they did everything possible to make sure that you never crossed into the school, the grounds of the school. There's a place that I completely understand. They don't want that disruptive classroom. But, parents talk together, they, come together. And at very early on, I started realizing that this wasn't going to be a good place for Zachary.
How were the conversations during IEP meetings?
I think early on during those IEP meetings, again, I was oblivious, just ignorant to the process and the system, trying to learn those first few years. And because he was so young, I think just understanding what basic services they were offering for Zachary, I was happy to just include those services that they had. So, I mean, the IEPs during his early years, I mean, they were okay.
Mhm.
The IEP in early years, I didn't think they posed much concern. I was learning about what an IEP was. Again, learning to advocate for him. There was a lot to learn. So the 4 to 5 years that we were in the same district, some years were great opportunities, and other years, I found myself faced with services being removed from Zachary. So understanding how that IEP works was a challenge in itself. Um, most often there was a team wanting the best for Zachary, and other times I didn't feel that.
Mm.
I didn't feel like they were open to accommodate him with services. And so that journey began. Again, like I said, the journey of advocacy and the fight for services began for me.
What are those services that you felt you had to fight a lot for during those times?
I realized the importance of him having a one-on-one aid, especially since Zachary was such a runner. When he finally was able to, walk and hit that milestone, having a one-on-one aid was so important for him because, for the obvious reasons, him just walking out, or
Yeah, he would just bolt off
he
out of the classroom,
was
right?
he would just bolt, and I think that was just enough. That was just too much for one individual or
Yeah.
a teacher that had so many other students to look after. So it was more for safety. That was always a primary goal, was his health and safety first. And like I said earlier, it was just hard for me to leave him knowing that I was faced and he was faced with these challenges of not knowing if there was going to be someone that was really going to account for him. Where's Zachary? Is he safe? Did he crawl under a cabinet? Did he, especially when you have so many kids that have so many different needs, for me, it just became an unsafe feeling. If the school system wasn't on board of his needs, then that's when I begin to not trust that he was going to be in a safe environment, and the teachers and the aides were going to understand his full need. I mean, sometimes it was a lot for me, making sure that, I couldn't take my eyes off of him sometimes. And that was probably one of the biggest concerns. It's just that one-on-one aid. Unfortunately, I know I'm not the only one who's had this experience. There's been so many shared experiences amongst other moms that I came to understand. And it's unfortunate because not every classroom, not every district is prioritizes, in having a very friendly, inclusive environment for the students, especially those with more need. And I can always say, if you, as a parent, if you feel like something is not right for the safety and this learning environment for your children, go with your gut feelings. Most often, I'm going to say that you're probably right.
Mm.
And I think that's why I'm sharing this. As hard as it is for me, there's nothing more that I wanted to say. He had an amazing, young, that he had an amazing time in school, and that everything went well and everybody was on board. And I've heard those stories, and I think it's wonderful because they should have that. And as much as I wanted that for Zachary, that wasn't our experience. And I want to share this because it's important that the services are there. There's no reason why that the students should not benefit from the services that are available there. And that's why these programs are put together for them. And when you see either administrators or teachers removing services, then you know that they're not really there for the kids. They're not there for the students. And it shouldn't be that way. Um, and that's why I'm sharing this. As hard as it is for me, I think it's important that parents understand that if a placement doesn't fit for your student, then you have the right to change. You have the right to make those changes.
So did you make that change?
I didn't have the know-how how to change, but I did start learning how to fight for the service.
Yeah.
It's not like I could go in and say, okay, this is what I want to happen, especially after having an IEP, because the IEP is set for those services, what's going to happen for that year.
Yeah, I remember, and I don't know if it was during this time or later because there's a lot that happened
A lot.
with Zachary and IEP meetings. And I do remember going to a few, not many, but a couple IEP meetings. And I remember there was this one time where you were bawling, you were crying in this IEP meeting and essentially begging for a chance for Zachary, begging for services that I didn't think seemed ridiculous at the time as a child and now as an adult, like that one-on-one aid, that safety for Zachary. And I just remember you crying and crying and crying. And the administrators just essentially being like, it's out of our hands. Nothing we could do. And I think working in the education system, yes, it was on a college level for me, but understanding more about IEPs and understanding more about services um, in these classrooms, I realized very quickly the amount of BS you had to go through. And I didn't realize that until I was an adult. But I just remember as a child seeing those little moments of what the heck is happening.
Right. I mean, during that time, I remember that one IEP, I think I had just reached my limit.
Mm,
Like I had just reached my limit because like you said, just a lot of BS happening. There's absolutely no reason why. And I wasn't asking for much. It was really almost at a minimal of the services that he needed.
yeah.
And I remember that feeling of thinking, not everyone is here truly for the benefit of Zachary. And when you would hear either teachers or administrators say, sorry, it's out of our hands, meant that for me, meant they really didn't care. One, they weren't looking out for the best interest of Zachary. And it was unfortunate because as I saw that happen and as I experienced that, I lost trust in just people Zachary was around. I lost trust in thinking and believing that someone can just look at me and talk to me and express whatever it is happening, what felt like such a callous mindset and heart, because anyone that's in this environment with students know that the best thing for them is what's best for them, the
Mhm.
services, a healthy environment, kindness, because they thrive off of that.
And when those things aren't happening, it's a very scary place, it sounds like, as a parent. And when you know in your heart it doesn't feel safe, it sounds like you are saying, what options do you have? What can you do?
Right.
Because you're putting Zach into a school system, into a system that
Full of strangers.
full of strangers,
I say
as
this
we
all the
talk about that,
time. It's just
full
full
of
of strangers.
strangers. You don't really know these people. You hope
Mhm.
because they're teachers or educators or administrators that they're good people. We like to always think that
And there's plenty of them.
there's plenty
There's,
of great teachers,
wonderful
administrators
teachers.
that are changing the world.
Yes.
Plenty of them.
Because I don't want to allude that this entire system is just complete. As broken as it is,
Right.
I don't want to allude
Both
that it's
things
just
can be true.
Yes.
Both things can be true.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because
And
I did experience both.
I think in my experience, again, being in education, yes, it was on a higher education level. It's that 10% or 5% that really make it difficult for parents and for the system as a whole. Because you could have those
And
great
it comes from
experiences.
it comes from the higher positions. That I learned early on, that it really does come from that administrator higher positions, because I came face to face with just was absolutely ugly. Just ugly.
How did it become ugly?
It's hard to even say it because as a parent, you don't want to believe it.
Mm.
You really don't want to believe the worst of someone, especially when they're in a position to create great programs. And when the opposite is true, you don't want to accept it. You don't want to believe it. And it was as though I was targeted. Zachary and I were targeted. And by that, I mean purposely looking for any type of fault to remove services, because at one point, because Zachary was always sick.
Mhm.
And, if he's sick, he's not going to school. So then all of a sudden, attendance became the issue. If Zachary was late and sick, and this was not coming from the teachers, this became this,
Just went higher up.
yes, it was higher up. When I found out the details of how administrators, directors came in calling almost on a daily to see if Zachary was there, this was definitely a targeted situation. And it was ugly because you can just imagine the stress imposed on me, that not only did I have to, consider Zachary's health and well-being, now I had to worry about potentially being pushed out of the school purposely.
Right, because it wasn't you choosing, hey, Zach, we're not going to go to school today.
No.
It was, hey, you can't go to school right now because we have to take you to the hospital.
Or the doctor.
Or the doctor, whatever, right? There was a lot of medical issues that we've talked about in previous episodes. And I could only imagine that stress.
Yeah,
as
it was a
parent.
different kind of stress. And that soon became an avalanche of just one problem after another. The removal of aides from one day to another. Because he
Without
needed
telling you, too.
Without telling me.
Without telling you.
And so,
Which parents, by the way, if that ever happens, like
yeah,
the removal of those services not telling you, like that shouldn't happen.
no, it shouldn't.
Like you can make a complaint, you could advocate, you could essentially like take it up to a higher level, even get a lawyer involved potentially,
Lawyer,
because
advocate. I got an advocate.
there are rules in place for
Right.
that to not happen.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm sharing this. This is not a target on directors and teachers.
Yeah, of course.
But these things happen, and they happen a lot more frequent than people really talk about. And these are things that need to be discussed, because, I'm all for for directors creating wonderful programs for students. I'm all for teachers and supportive teachers. But
And I think we always say educators should get paid more.
absolutely,
Educators are undervalued
absolutely,
in our society,
1,000%.
but this is the reality of
Right,
yours and Zachary's and our family's experience.
right.
Again, both things can be true. And allowing that space for both of those to happen is important. Because when I think about even after all that, Zach going to middle school, those challenges still persisted
They did.
with a different school system.
Absolutely.
And I remember you telling me a story about when an aide was removed. Again, I don't know what grade he was in. An aide was removed and they just kind of left him outside to get picked up by you.
No, they didn't quite leave him outside. He was wandering around. So when this was middle school.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he first started middle school. There was a wonderful teacher that Zachary was going to have. I was fortunate enough to be able to select, which was very far and few times ever, to select the school that he was going to go to and the program. Because
Yeah.
often there's maybe 2, maybe 3 choices. And again, parents talk to each other, and you're always trying to fight and advocate for that classroom that everybody loves,
Right.
And other parents shared about how wonderful this teacher was. And he went in, and sure enough, you can see the passion. You can see the love when someone is, there doing something they actually enjoy
Mm-hmm.
and want to make a difference. It's night and day. And before you knew it, though, I don't know if it was a week or 2, it was unfortunate, but that teacher got injured and was not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just another set of challenges, because the person coming in didn't have that same passion, did not, give me that trust factor. And some of the words that were exchanged made me realize just wasn't a place that I wanted Zachary to be in. But we were out to make the best of the circumstance and situation. But immediately after they removed the aide, nobody found it necessary for him to have an aide. And I was reassured that he was going to be fine, that there were plenty of aides in the classroom to attend to him and assist him and protect him. And again, they reassured me, because safety was always of the most importance at that, at any classroom.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was a runner and he would just wander off.
Mm-hmm.
He had no sense of space, safety, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's not like they didn't know this. I made sure that they understood this.
Everyone that knew Zachary understood this, because he was, again, ballpark here, because I'm not fully with the ages, but he was 12, 13-ish at the time, right? Zach, and to give you all context, Zach is 24 now. And
actually, he was a little older.
Was he a little older?
Yes, he was older, because as far as throughout the school early on, I held him back a couple years. So a typical, what is it? Like a typical 6th grader is...
So around 13, yeah. If it was 6th grade.
So this was middle school, 12,
Because 14's freshman
So
year high
that-
school.
but he was 2 years behind. I held him back.
Yeah. So about 12,
So-
13 years old. Maybe 14.
14.
12
I'm
to
gonna say about
14.
14. Yeah.
Again, either way, 12
Right.
to 14 years old range. And to give you all context, Zach is 24 now, and he still needs someone around him in the house, whether out in public.
He's
He's
never left
never
no,
left alone
never.
because, again, we understand the aspect of safety. He's a wanderer still to this day,
Yes.
and he doesn't have that knowledge or communication if he were to be lost or in a situation to help himself or even ask for help.
Right.
And he's 24 now.
Correct.
So for y'all listening, imagine him at max age 14 years old, where he's barely speaking one word sentences,
Not even that. He was still. Well, okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
barely speaking
Yeah.
one word sentences, 14 years old, was more of a wanderer, would actually just like run away for whatever reason.
Yeah, had no real notion of the space around him.
No. And that aid was taken away at that time. So just to provide a little bit more context.
Right.
of
And
it.
without my knowledge, really at first I did not know, because when I finally found out, again, they reassured me that he was going to be fine. I'm, for all those angels that are out there, I'm saying thank you. What I mean by that is there was always someone that stepped in and stepped up. It only took that one person to wave a big red flag to say, look, I'm not supposed to be talking to you, but I'm letting you know that this is what's happening. And I am so thankful, because the days that led up to that moment were so concerning, so horrific. I'm so thankful that there was a person that just understood, had the common sense, had the understanding, had just the mindset to know between right and wrong. Simple, just right or wrong. And when I think it was an expand of 3 days. So what ended up happening is when the bell rang for lunch, there's no aide with him. There was no one there with him. They allowed all the students to just go off and do whatever they were to do.
Which again is really great for students to teach them about independence and things of that nature if they are at that stage in their life. Right.
So understand, right? Yeah, Zachary had a one-on-one aide with him that received him in the morning, went with him everywhere he needed to go, even had to attend to him when he needed to go to the restroom. This was his one-on-one aide. She was there particularly just for him, specifically for him. And whether he had lunch, had recess, classroom, other services, she was always to go with him. That was her role. So when this was removed, all those moments throughout your day at school, no one was overlooking to see where Zachary was. So when I started noticing completely something different, Zachary was a completely different person. He started crying going to school. And not the kind of cry that you just see someone maybe just,
like, don't leave me there.
Yeah, it was don't leave me there. And I remember him coming home with what was like markings around his ear. Nobody ever wants to admit to anything. No one's going to admit to anything. But it was as if either his ears were pulled, because there was markings all over his ears and around his neck. And I was mortified. It wasn't going to matter what I would ask or who I would ask. No one was going to say anything.
Mm-hmm. And Zach wasn't someone that pulled on his own ear.
No.
We
No.
knew his tendencies and things of that nature. There's only conclusion had to be someone else. Who that person was, we
No,
never know.
we
But
will never know. And it got worse from there because when I brought it up to even the principal, same attitude, it's out of my hands. What do you want me to do? There's nothing I can do. This is what is expected of all the kids. And it just got worse and worse until, again, had to advocate. I think at that moment in that time, I was ready to homeschool. Like I was in a place where it's just like, I'm done with the system. His safety and his well-being is not worth it because you don't have sound-minded individuals in the system now to help us and make sure that he's going to be safe. And Zachary, aside from, I mean, he's always been very loving, Zachary. So it wasn't as though I just couldn't understand. I couldn't understand why anyone, an adult, would be in a place to want to hurt anyone, and someone especially that requires more attention, someone that requires, protection on other levels. But soon after that, I got, an advocate involved, and that changed really quickly because I went knocking down on doors and basically letting them know that no, this wasn't going to happen. And then I understood what they were up to.
so going back a little bit, you said you saw him wander after school one time?
Well, I went to go pick him up and no one knew where Zachary was.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't know where he is? How could you? And so I addressed it even with its teacher, and the teacher was just like, I don't know. Like once they leave my classroom, I don't know. And I couldn't understand, like, where is this person's like reasoning? And that's when
Where did you find him?
they found him just sitting on the floor somewhere in the corner. Then just like, oh, we have him. Again, no one gives you details.
Right, but you're talking about a very, very scary situation where I dare say it, like parents' worst nightmare.
Was
Where's my child at?
It was. I had no idea that this happened in the span of 3 days. So this was going on for 3 days.
Like the aid was taken away for 3 days, and it was until people couldn't find Zachary that stuff hit the fan.
Somehow, I just wonder how, they were just covering things up. Unfortunately, that's like the ugly reality. Because no one's going to speak up until like I said, there was this one individual that come and again, she knew between right or wrong. She's like, I would recommend that, you either hold an IEP or get his aid back, or she's like, but this isn't right. What they're doing is not right. And she knew.
Mm-hmm.
So it always,
And it's so unfortunate too, right? Because bless that person and individual's heart,
absolutely.
because they were probably put in a situation of, I don't know, maybe losing their job or some disciplinary action.
But I think it's just so terrible that someone has to feel like if I speak up and do the right thing, that I may be in a position to lose my job because the gaslighting that I was going through, that's what makes any parent be in a place of feel nothing but rage.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are you disappointed, you're disheartened by the whole thing. You lose trust, But there is a feeling of rage. Like you just feel as though, like, how do you look at these people day in and day out? And, you know, I had a few choice of words that I really wanted to exchange with them, but you know that if you start doing that, at some point they may retaliate at your own son. It's just terrible to even think those things. That it's already bad enough without doing anything because you're just showing up for school. But now you have to worry about potentially administrators, teachers retaliating on your own child who's here to try to get an education, who's here, who's, you know, rightfully there. So this was the ugly reality. As much as it pains me to even talk about it, like even just now, just feeling like these emotions, how terrible,
Yeah.
how awful, how evil.
And in full transparency, I was in college during that time. And I do remember eventually going to his middle school end of the year activities where like all the 8th graders are graduating and they have this video game truck and all these other little activities that they have for graduates.
Right.
And I remember, again, shows my oblivion to it all. Every administrator was like so happy to say hi to me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, Zachary talks about you all the time." All the other students knew Zachary. He seemed like the most popular person on that campus because every student knew Zachary. They're like, "Hey, Zach, how's it going? How's it going, buddy?" Um, he had a really fun one-on-one another student that was always like with him.
He had an
And
aide by then.
right, he had an aide.
By the time
Again, that's
eighth
what you're.
grade, a lot had changed
But
because
this
of
is
the
this is
fight.
what
And,
I knew.
right.
Everyone seemed to love Zachary, and every administrator seemed to love Zachary. And I think it shows a lot of one when you're not fully in it. Because again, I was in college doing my own thing,
Right.
right? You as the mom were like deep, deep in it, having these different perspectives. Because one, me not knowing the truth of everything that happened. And I just remember just seeing how popular he was amongst the students, never realizing all the other stuff he had to go through.
I think kids, for the most part, are welcoming.
Mhm.
There's always those few,
Of
and
course.
we know that, but that goes true for any environment. But kids, as long as they are exposed and given the opportunity to really get to know these kids, from what I've always seen, they're mostly open to try to understand and be inclusive. I've seen that over and over. So it wasn't the kids. It wasn't, if you provide that environment, they all can thrive.
Yeah. As kids should.
Right.
And so eventually you made the decision to homeschool Zachary. When was that and why? Why? I feel like I don't even need to ask why at this point, why you made the decision to homeschool him. When
These
was that?
transitions were not easy for either one of
Yeah.
us, right? And we had more than our fair share of transitions from either classrooms or services, schools. I mean, we even had a terrible situation in elementary school that we didn't talk about.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about that one? Go ahead. So what happened in that elementary school?
Again, angels coming to the aid. I am so thankful. By by this time, Zachary had had a few different aides. And there was a teacher, it was a whole different school, again, moving around. There was a teacher that unfortunately put Zachary in a very unsafe situation where she allowed, it wasn't just something that was overlooked, but she allowed one of the students to harm him physically. Not on one occasion, on a couple of occasions. And it wasn't until the aide, kind of stepped in to help and to speak up that I even knew of these unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, I remember you telling me
And everyone wanted
one of
to,
the times. And the time was Zachary, I guess, was laying on the ground,
yes,
and the teachers have been trying to be telling him, "Hey, can't lay on the ground at school, have to sit up," etc. And I guess another kid came and kicked Zachary multiple times.
yep,
And when Zachary, I guess, was on the floor crying, looking for help, apparently a teacher looked at Zachary and said, "Well, this is what happens when you lay on the ground."
exactly. That is some crazy, unfortunate.
Some crazy BS.
Yeah. And as a parent, again, you feel like a failure.
Mm,
You feel like you're not there to protect when that's your role. It's so hard. Those realities are so hard because no one should have to, no child should have to go through that. No parent should have to face a grown adult who is there to provide, education, a safe place for the students. And even the confrontation is nothing but denial. And that's all it was. It's just a denial from the administrators to the teachers. And you think and you walk away, right? Thinking if you're not providing a safety space, how am I supposed to trust you? Once again, feeling like I was just being gaslit by the whole thing.
so I can imagine, right? All these very terrible, heartbreaking, disgusting situations.
As a mom, it's just like he didn't deserve that.
He didn't.
No kid, but he didn't deserve that.
So all those things obviously made you eventually decide on homeschooling for high school. How was homeschool for Zachary?
Well, he did attend high school, but again, it's just like similar situations. It just like I just didn't understand. It was from like one school to another because like I said, he went into high school. He was only there for half a year until I started putting all my little ducks in order and just ran out of there as fast as I could, never looking back.
So he was homeschooled. What was that like for him and for you?
The first year was a lot of adjustments. Because the word school was nothing but a trigger. Even today, I don't even think that if you say the word school, he will have a natural negative reaction. And I don't blame him.
He hates that word.
He hates that word. Absolutely hates it. And it took me about a year to help him, just to help him understand that he was safe. He was going to be in a new environment that was still helping him with his education, but now it's just going to be different. And Zachary always had a difficult time staying in one place for more than like 10 or 15 minutes. And this was during those school years. And part of there towards the end, we had to include a behavioral program for him, services. Again, thinking about how much he was exposed to, I don't blame him for having these natural reactions, just towards his environment. But by the time within that first year, by the end of that first year, he was able to sit down long enough for about 30 minutes to enjoy just a session.
Right, because homeschooling was at home, but it was with a teacher via Zoom.
Right. So his classes were on Zoom.
Yeah.
And again, the support was so different. I mean, even though it was at home, the support and the resources that I had were night and day. Because even the thought of the very first time I had the IEP with the whole homeschool program, immediately I had that natural anxiety reaction to this IEP. I remember thinking, what do I need to prepare for? How is this going to go? Even though I've learned a lot,
You're already putting your armor on.
I was really just in a place of, like you said, putting that armor on. And it's an unfortunate situation and circumstance because it's not supposed to be that way. It shouldn't be that way. And by the end of the IEP, I just remember I can laugh about it now in a kind of sad, funny way, but they gave him everything I asked for. Everything. No pushback. They even asked, would you like to have...
They even added more
They
things.
added more. I'm like, oh, that's an option? Yeah, they were there for him. They were there for us. They wanted to make sure we had a positive learning experience. They wanted to make sure that if there was anything else I needed, please don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah.
My jaw dropped. I was in disbelief in a good way, asking myself, wow, is this really happening? And by the time the IEP was over, I don't think I've ever felt so much joy after an IEP. I was just...
As it should feel. And I think that's what, unfortunately, a lot of parents don't actually know. You should feel some sort of joy, maybe relief or hope, because it's supposed to work together for the child. The parent, the school system / teacher, etc. is supposed to come together to provide the best services for the child.
Yeah, you
So
should
it's
feel
supposed
that
to
way.
feel hopeful.
Yes.
It's supposed to. Unfortunately, that's not the case a lot of times, but that's how it's
you're supposed
to
to
be.
feel like the team that's there is working with you
Right.
to provide services for the rest of that year, that they can foresee whatever situation is happening at that point of his education, that they can foresee, okay, I think the services that are available to him will be put in place to help him be successful,
Mm-hmm.
to thrive. So this was, again, I understand, even looking back now, that my story and my experience in hopes to help somebody else, because the reality of it, how how terrible and awful it was in certain time frame, because there were times that we had
As we discussed.
wonderful teachers, um, very helpful, very kind. Like I said, those angels that came, my way to protect. But that first year of homeschool gave me so much hope. By the end of his elementary, he started reading because he was in a positive learning environment at the end of elementary. I was able to see like really his potential, and I was excited to see that he was happy. And so by the time we went into homeschool, he was just picking up things a lot more quicker, a lot easier. The stress of going to school was removed. That environment was no longer something that, was in part of our routine. And by the second year of homeschooling, we were making big strides. Like we
Yeah.
really were. And even for me, less stress for me. As much as, like I said, as much as I wanted him to have that school experience, it wasn't really available to him.
Wasn't worth it either.
It
Sounds
was not
like
worth it.
in a lot of ways. And yeah, I remember him thriving tremendously in
And I was
homeschool.
concerned. I kept asking myself, am I doing the right thing? I was excited yet overwhelmed. Was I taking on too much? But I felt confident. I felt really confident because I thought, taking into everything into account and consideration of the struggles that we had, all that energy could have been put into helping him with either education and
Helping him grow as a person.
help him grow and have different experiences, positive experiences for him and for myself. Just the thought, if I had to do it all over again, I would absolutely homeschool him from the beginning.
Of course, hindsight's 2020. Makes sense.
I would.
Yeah, and so Zachary graduated in 2022.
2022.
It was a fantastic and beautiful and amazing ceremony. He was so excited in his cap and gown.
He was so
I cried.
excited.
You cried.
He
A lot of our
was.
family cried too. I think there was a lot of release of not only that he
He was
did
so
it.
cute. He felt so proud,
Yeah,
as he should. And I remember because Zachary was able to, we were able to take advantage of the extended school. So I didn't take him out of the homeschooling until he was, again, like he continued through the program up through like 22 years old. So that was nice. It was nice that it gave us the opportunity to really homeschool for a longer extended than the 4 years. And when he graduated, it's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was excited. Um, it was so nice to have family and friends there with him, and I don't know. It was like perfect. It was just a perfect ending to all of that hard work, those homeschooling years.
So, kind of to wrap up this conversation, what advice or what would you say words of encouragement to parents struggling through the education system with their children or child?
I don't think the system is for everyone. And whether that is like a hard reality for someone, and it's not that your child wouldn't do well, it's that if your school, if your district doesn't have the appropriate accommodations, then most likely your child is not going to thrive. And unfortunately, that is a reality. If you're in a place to homeschool and you can connect with other parents to do the same, a community, I believe, is a lot stronger. Because when I think about those moments that I was able to have Zachary included in other environments that he enjoyed, there's so many benefits to that. I think that you know your child best. And if you feel unwell with a situation, just listen to yourself, listen to your child. These years are so important, and it's just so important for you to listen to your child, create a community that is supportive. There are so many other parents that are in similar situations that I think when you come together, you can benefit from. Everyone benefits. I know it's sometimes easier said than done, but looking back, it just wasn't worth the stress. I mean, because those years are over now.
Mm-hmm.
Look for programs, look for the resources, the support. Every child is different. Every child learns differently. It's so nice to see students who have done well in an environment that is set up for them to thrive, because they do exist. I mean, there are many programs out there, many schools and districts that really want to see those students in an inclusive environment. But that's not true for everyone.
Yeah, it's always a case by case basis.
It
And
is.
I think that's important. There's not a one size fits all advice or situation. It's what's best for your child.
Right.
And I think that goes across the board of what we always express. Mr. Zachary Valentine,
Yeah.
what Crocs are you wearing today? What Crocs are those?
Right.
Oh, it does have some white on them. It has some brown, some tan. Was that like green? A greenish? You got the
Maybe like
cameo
a
going.
khaki. Like a khaki.
You got the cameo Crocs today, man. I don't even see them. I can't even see the Crocs.
Yeah.
Where are the Crocs at? I don't even see them.
Mom.
Mom? Mom has them?
Do you know that those are called cameo? The color, that coordination is called cameo. Those are your cameo Crocs.
It's like when you want to hide, you wear cameo. You just gotta hide.
Hi.
Hide from the haters. I like it though. I like
I like 'em.
your Crocs. They look amazing. They look fantastic. And of course, it goes with the fit.
Part 3.
Part 3.
But tell me about your Crocs.
One more about Crocs. What?
Anything about your
Mom has
Crocs?
questions.
Okay, Mom.
I think you're going to be able to wear a pair of Crocs, a different pair of Crocs for every episode. So far,
For like a whole year, you think? How many Crocs do you think he has?
No.
What?
What? How many
I
Crocs do you
know.
think you have?
Too many clocks.
Too many
Yeah, you
Crocs.
have too many.
You can never have too many. What do you think?
100 clocks.
You think you have 100?
It's
I
possible.
think he has like 250. To be honest,
No.
that's my guess.
I think it looks like he has a lot because they're so bulky.
Yeah, man.
Like in a box. Yeah, they're so bulky. But, so far he has 8 different.
If I take, say,
Patrick, where are your Crocs?
your clocks.
I didn't get the memo. Where are your Crocs at? We're not
Zachary's
cool
a
like
star.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not cool like that. It's Zach.
What the hell?
I know. You're the star, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Zachary Valentine, King Zachary.
Thank you.
Way to stay humble. Way to stay. He's like, go ahead, keep going, keep going.
I go, you go, yeah, you're going. I'm the guy.
You are that guy. You are that guy. I respect it.
Yeah.
So, Zach, are you ready for today's challenge?
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's necessarily a challenge, but for Zach, it's a challenge.
Hey.
So Zach doesn't know what is happening, but me and my mom thought it would be a really great idea to surprise him with a brown lunch bag. And so there's multiple brown lunch bags. Each brown lunch bag reminds us of Zach
Good mommy.
Yeah.
through the early years, through his educational years.
All right.
All right, you don't know what it is? We're going to talk about why those things remind us of him.
Can't wait to see his reaction and see. Some of these are going to be. These are
Okay.
going to bring back some fun memories. And hopefully for Zachary, those
Okay.
moments, just childhood, and
They're going to be a surprise for Zachary, to
they
say the least.
are. I can't
Okay.
wait to see his reaction,
Oh,
though.
yeah.
First one, let's do it.
Do it.
Okay. The first thing in the brown lunch bag is, take it out, man. What is it? What is it? What is it?
You see.
Oh, it is a Lego Yoshi. There's nothing else. That's it. And toss it. Go ahead, do your thing.
Oh,
So-
Sorry, Mom.
Okay, so this is 2 reasons why we chose this. The first, Legos. Legos were always really great for Zach growing up.
One here.
Oh, I'll put it right there. There we go.
Zachary, what does that remind you of?
So Zach used to build like really big Legos, like the really big ones, stacking them together. And so that's what reminded me of Zach with like Legos, Lego Yoshi. Also,
Yeah, we had the big ones for a very long time
Yeah.
because they were just easier for him to maneuver.
he loved the tactile, he loved building. Especially, I think he did it a lot in early intervention
Yes.
as well.
Do you remember your big Legos, Zachary?
Yeah.
You learned a lot from those. Helped
Yeah.
learn your colors too with it.
Yeah.
And the second part is Zach always loves Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go, bro. You remember Mario, man. You remember Mario.
Dash, man.
Thanks, bro.
That started his early gaming years. Switch. Wait. Back then was Wii? Wait,
Um,
how far back? Game Boy. Game Boy? That was you.
That was me, but I mean, he watched me play it.
He did.
But I think the first time he actually played it was maybe the Wii.
Do you remember playing with your Wii, Zachary?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's when he started playing Mario.
Yeah, the Wii. And then Wii U.
Come on.
Okay. All right, man. I just want to see your reaction to this one first.
Okay.
Lunch bag number 2.
Oh, my God.
Got the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
You have to turn it on if you want the cool effects. Here, you want help?
Wow. Oh. Patrick.
Oh, that is so cool.
You got the echo going. You got 2 mics. You don't even know which mic to talk into.
Oh, yeah. Pates dusa.
Okay, go. Go again. Go ahead.
Pates dusa pedek.
It just echoes.
I know, it's just like pregnant. I appreciate it, man. So this mic specifically wasn't the one that Zach obviously grew up with.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
dog. Oh, yeah, I do.
You got 2, bro. You got 2, man. You got 2.
He must have been about 4 years old, and between about 4 and 5 years old. But he
Was it me?
he loved the mic. He loved to just hold it and sing
Yeah.
from his little heart.
But Zach always had a mic in his hand. He always loved to sing.
He just
He was
I
meant
don't-
for stardom.
yeah, he
was like,
was.
everyone come
He knew
listen
exactly
to
what
me.
to do with it, and
You remember?
he was tiny and cute. And when he went
Yeah.
for it, it's just a reminder of like how we're here today. But yeah, that's a good little memory in his little mic.
All right. Ooh. Number 3.
Come on.
Okay. All right. Are you going to remember this one? You should remember this one. You should remember this one.
You need joking.
I'm not joking, bro. I am not joking on this one. Sorry. It was in my way.
Oh, the guy I know.
It's a Skylander.
Wow, look at him.
Wow. Talk about a throwback to the Skylander days.
Oh,
Hold up. Yeah.
my bad.
Zach,
Do you
I
remember?
think that took his gaming to
Do
a
you
different
remember
level.
the Skylanders? Do you remember the Skylanders? All the ones you collected?
Does it make your heart happy?
He's so happy.
He's reminiscing on the times he used to play Skylanders. I think this took his like gaming level to new heights. Mario was the first gaming.
And
The
also just
Skylanders.
collecting.
Yeah.
If he really collected anything until he started collecting these Skylanders.
You see how he's very like he's analyzing it. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you remember you used to have a lot? What happened to all your Skylanders?
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Yeah, don't ask me what happened to them. I can't find them.
Did you sell them at a
Wow.
yard sale?
No.
Sorry. I wouldn't even know what its name.
Yeah, I can't remember the names of any of
What
them.
the
To
hell?
Oh, so you want me to hold it? Okay. I can't remember the name of this little guy. Granted, he doesn't seem very little. He seems very buff.
Several years ago. I'm
Come on.
All right. The next one, sir. Your next lunch bag. What is inside?
a banana.
That's my fault.
Is that because you were my little monkey?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was because when he first started eating,
Was it a little brown?
What happened?
Sorry, my bad. It was in the bag, so it got a little brown.
But they quit it.
What's your question?
They broke it. Mama, you.
I didn't break the banana.
he broke
It
his
wasn't my
banana.
fault.
He broke your banana?
You did.
He did.
He really likes his bananas.
Shit, man. Sorry.
Oh, it is broken.
You broke his banana.
But it still could be used.
No.
Okay. Can I talk to my banana friend?
So when Zachary started eating his first food other than bottle, it had to be bananas. And it was because of his difficulty with swallowing. And he loved bananas. And he still loves his bananas.
All right, sir. Your next lunch bag. Your next lunch is served.
Yeah, perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah, he always is gonna like this one.
Well,
Go ahead, do your thing. Do your thing. Go. What?
What's his
Dang.
favorite sport?
Favorite
Okay.
sport? Baseball. Always. Was it his
I don't-
first sport?
I don't think it. No.
No.
I think soccer was
Soccer was his first sport?
Yeah. I don't know if it was always his favorite, but for sure his favorite now.
I think it's something that got him used to playing a lot of sports. Because, I mean, he likes soccer kicking the ball a little, but
He's bored of us.
are you bored of us reminiscing about your
Your childhood.
baseball? It's definitely Zach's favorite now. Growing up, it was hit or miss.
It
Literally.
was.
He would swing and either hit or miss.
He would swing and then run to the playground.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah,
but
I
he
do.
would just.
He would hit it, and then instead of running to first, it would be the playground. I do remember that.
Yeah.
And it always somehow caught us off guard, but
Stop.
You're tired, my love?
Stop.
Part 6 doesn't fit in a paper bag. I have part 6 for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see his reaction.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember your hangers?
Yeah.
Does it not hit the same anymore?
What the hell? Stop!
He had a fascination with hangers. No matter, do you remember, Zachary? We would go to Walmart or Target or any other store that had hangers. He'd take off the clothes and he would make me take the hanger.
That would be his toy for going anywhere. I even remember there was
so many
2
years.
or 3 Christmases where we would wrap up hangers, and he would get more excited about the hangers than any other any other toy he got. He remembers.
He doesn't remember.
That day.
He saw a hanger earlier today and he looked at it and he's like,
hello, old friend. How are you doing today?
And
it's been a while.
He would, do you remember he would hang it from the side of his lip?
He would.
And he would just walk around and just hang right here on the side.
You want to show them how you do it?
No.
Okay. No, you don't
No,
have
those
to.
are the old days.
Yeah.
And then he would
later.
bang it on any flat surface.
You go like this.
And this is, yeah.
Go like this the whole time.
You just tap the whole time.
He would just have it right here.
Yeah.
He would just chill right here and then have another one right here. Well, this is what you did.
Come on.
Okay, sorry. My bad. It's not as cute as doing it.
Those were the old days, huh? Those are past.
Patrick, gross.
It looked gross? Yeah, probably.
Patrick, you're being gross.
My bad, man. My fault.
It's when we came back from our vacation in Florida that first time. It was as though he said, I've grown out of that.
I'm too old for that now.
Yeah.
Are you too old for a hanger?
Yeah.
Respect it. And that, my friend, is called growth.
You've come a long ways. You've grown so much. I'm so proud of you.
So, now it's time for golden moments. Mom, what's your golden moment?
My golden moment is like here today, seeing how far Zachary has come. That even through those hard times, unfortunately, the unfortunate situations and circumstances, that when you do continue to cultivate love and in your life, that you can still overcome. And watching Zachary overcome so much, just watching him watching him now and how much he enjoys what he's doing, that even by saying the word school, I know he doesn't like it, but it's not something that he has to think about anymore. And so my golden moment is knowing that he's in such a better place.
Yeah.
And he's thriving and he's happy. And he is surrounded by those who love him. That even for me, as a mom, this is sort of my aha moment too, to say, we've come a long ways.
Y'all did it.
We've overcome all of that.
Yeah. I think that ties into my golden moment. And I've said it before, but seeing yours and Zach's resilience is truly inspiring and incredible and amazing. And two are big role models in my life. And seeing both of your guys' resilience in that, I think to say maybe a different golden moment too, I think there's this gratefulness of all those people that helped us along the way and helped you and Zach along the way. Whether it was someone putting their job at risk or a great teacher along the way. Yes, all of this was very difficult for you and Zach and for me in certain ways, but I don't think I was as in it
Right.
as you two
Right.
obviously were. I think reflecting back on the people that helped us along the way
Yeah.
is a golden moment because it's people that just wanted to do the right thing. And I think that's something that's always should be highlighted, even in these really tough situations.
Yeah, because there are just wonderful people out there
Mhm.
who really care, like you say, wanting to do the right thing. That's something that's instilled in them.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for them. That's beautiful. I agree.
Thank you all for watching Love Out of Chaos with the Valentines. I'm Patrick Valentine.
I like it Valentine.
And I'm Linda, Mama Valentine.
Make sure to subscribe, leave us a comment, follow us on all platforms.
2 thumbs up.
Oh,
it's a beautiful chaos.
It's a beautiful chaos.
It's a beautiful chaos, man. It's always a beautiful chaos with you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get that up.
And
And give a thumbs up. It's a
It's a
beautiful
beautiful
chaos.